अस्सलाम वालेकुम सबको। आप सबको US Consulate कराची की जानब से Coffee with Krish में खुशामदीद। Today we have with us Steve Knode, the Senior Commercial Officer at the US Consulate General in Karachi, Pakistan. A little bit about Steve. Prior to this assignment, you served as the Senior Commercial Officer for US Commercial Service, Brazil, stationed at the Consulate General in Sao Paulo, Brazil. The US Commercial Service is a trade promotion arm of the US Department of Commerce's International Trade Administration. US Commercial Service trade professionals in over 100 US cities and in over 75 countries help US companies get started in exporting or increasing sales to new global markets. Steve, thank you again for taking time to join us in this discussion, and hopefully for sharing with us all the wonderful work that you and the Department of Commerce does in Sindh and Balochistan. And as they say in Urdu, हम आपका इस्तेक़बाल करते हैं.
Well, thank you very much, Chris. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on this show and to talk a little bit about what we do. Actually, although I'm based here in Karachi,
okay.
I do oversee not just Sindh and Balochistan, but all of Pakistan. So
okay.
we're covering the country, and we are doing what we can to help American companies partner with Pakistani
So you're
companies.
based in Karachi, but you cover all of Pakistan.
Actually, there's a little bit of a backstory. My position, the Senior Commercial Officer position, had been, until last year, based at the U.S. Embassy in Islamabad.
I see.
But we made a decision as an organization to move the position down to Karachi. Made a lot of sense because Karachi is the heart of business. It's a commercial town.
Absolutely.
And it really, I think, has worked out very well. And I'm very pleased that I, as the Senior Commercial Officer, get to be based out of this terrific city out of Karachi.
Karachi is truly a gorgeous, wonderful city.
It absolutely is, and it's very dynamic. And again, this is the heart of business, and so it makes sense for the Senior Commercial Officer to be based here in Karachi.
Okay, that's good to know, Steve. Steve, let me go directly into just into the basics. What is the U.S. Commercial Service, and what does it actually do throughout Pakistan?
Yeah, you mentioned in your intro that we are the Trade and Investment
Absolutely.
Promotion Agency of the U.S. government, part of the U.S. Department of Commerce. But we really do help companies on a case-by-case basis, in particular American companies that are interested in finding partners in Pakistan. We try and help build that bridge, make those connections. And we're lucky to be able to do that. Although I am based here in Karachi, as I just mentioned, we do have people who work at the U.S. Commercial Service, both at the U.S. Consulate in Lahore and also up at our embassy in Islamabad as well. So when an American company is interested in coming to Pakistan, finding out about the market, trying to get established here, trying to find partners, we can serve as that conduit to try and make that U.S. company successful.
So you're also like a resource hub.
Absolutely. We provide information, market research, and yes, our Pakistani staff here are actually experts in a number of different sectors and experts in their fields. And so regardless of what sector you come from, be it IT, be it in agriculture technologies, be it in healthcare, be it in energy, we have people on the ground who have experience in Pakistan working in those sectors with those companies, and we try and transfer that knowledge and give that knowledge to American executives.
Okay. Steve, what types of companies do you normally deal with, both in the United States and Pakistan? I mean, in general.
Yeah, it actually runs the gamut, Krish, and we really do try and specialize in helping small and medium-sized American companies,
okay.
because those companies will not have an office in South Asia. Indeed, a lot of times they don't have any international offices at all. Mm-hmm. And so they can use the commercial service network to get information and find partners, find agents and distributors on the ground, in our case in Pakistan, to try and help increase their sales. And that's what we're here to do. However, I will say we also help large American companies as well. Many of those, of course, have a long time presence in international markets in Pakistan, and we work with them as well to usually talk with take bigger issues, talk to the host government on issues that those American companies have. So it's really all companies, small, medium, large. We'll talk to them all
across the spectrum.
Absolutely.
And what is the volume of trade, just approximately, between the U.S. and Pakistan? Which leads me to my next question after that, which is actually, I think, they're part and parcel of the same being. What does the U.S. export to Pakistan and vice versa?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think the U.S.-Pakistan commercial relationship is something to highlight, because it is robust, it is strong, and it is growing. So I'm happy to report that in 2017, we had record two-way trade between the United States and Pakistan. Just about $6.4 billion. And
that's a substantial amount.
It's a substantial amount. I do like to point out that it could be even higher. Okay. It could be even higher than that, even though it is a record, and we're happy to see that.
Is that the highest ever?
Highest ever.
Okay. Wow.
So it is fair to say that the United States and Pakistan have never traded more with each other. From the United States, last year's U.S. exports to Pakistan also touched a record. About $2.8 billion. And to answer your question, really a number of different products there. Of course, a lot of energy and infrastructure needs and demand in Pakistan, and a number of American companies supply a great deal of technologies and products in those sectors. Healthcare, either pharmaceuticals or medical technologies. Medical devices, that's another area where American companies are exporting their goods. Agriculture, whether it's in commodities like soybeans, or agriculture technology to try and help yields in Pakistan's agriculture sector, also important. And we see a great deal of growth in sectors that are expanding as a consequence of the growing middle class in Pakistan. So retail services, franchising, those are areas that are growing too. Those are areas where we have a lot of American companies that are participating, and so there's a lot of growth. And we're, again, pleased to see that it's a very healthy, very strong, and growing trading relationship between our two countries.
And it continues to be robust, and you foresee that it'll continue to be even greater.
Absolutely. I mean, certainly, anecdotally, from all of the inquiries that we are getting at the U.S. Commercial Service from American companies, the interest is there. And I think certainly the possibility exists for us to do the possibility exists for us to continue to see increased trade between our two countries.
Okay, that's good to know, Steve. What are some of the priority areas that the commercial service focuses on in Pakistan?
Yeah, I've mentioned a couple of them already, but just to reiterate, energy and infrastructure are some areas that, again, very much part of what Pakistan is interested in developing, and so we feel that there are American companies that can provide good technologies, good products to help in areas of infrastructure development. Also, as I mentioned, healthcare companies, again, either in devices, pharmaceuticals, all areas of healthcare, agriculture technologies, and again, retail services and franchising. Those are the key areas where we see a lot of promise.
I see. Which leads me to my next question, Steve. What are some of the opportunities that you see? And following that up, What are some of the challenges that U.S. businesses could face or face in Pakistan?
Yeah. Well, I think the challenges are not that different in many respects from the challenges American companies face when they enter any international market. It's very important to do homework and research and to really have an understanding as much as you possibly can of the situation on the ground,
right.
to understand the cultural context as well, and who the market players are, the international competition, the local competition, and what sort of value can you add as an American company. And that's not that different from any other international market, in terms of what you need to do and the type of service that we can provide to American companies. We actually get even more detailed, not just providing information, but also trying to find and locate suitable partners on the ground, agents, distributors, others, to try and assist American companies that are coming perhaps for the first time. Now, again, the challenges come from not knowing the market.
Yeah.
So, there are, of course, issues that affect all companies, not just American companies. So it might be, infrastructure related. It's tough sometimes to get products from point A to point B. So logistics. How do you navigate that? That's one area of concern. Understanding the rules and the guidelines and the context of certainly sector by sector. What are some of the laws that regulate some of the sectors that are important to American companies? That's important too. And then just sort of navigating, regulations, regulators, the government, whether it's provincial government or federal government, just being able to understand who the players are, where they're coming from, and to be able to understand that as much as possible. So those are all challenges that can be overcome, but that I think American companies
and
face.
that's where someone like someone like you, for example, could make the difference. You could be, you and your colleagues could be a resource, or are our resources.
That's
for
absolutely why we're here.
Right.
That's why
Exactly.
we're here to help build that bridge and make those connections.
And you act as a conduit, as you said.
As much as we possibly can. Yeah.
Right. And which leads me to my question about what kind of tools do you normally use to promote or rather help U.S. businesses in Pakistan?
Yeah, we have a number of services actually. So although we're a U.S. government agency, we actually do offer services that U.S. companies pay for. So they have names like the Gold Key service. That's our matchmaking service. As an American company, you can have us help you find suitable partners on the ground who can help represent you. And we do that through a service we call the Gold Key. But we also do some due diligence when we're requested. U.S. companies may have found a potential partner, want to know a little bit more about them, and so we will, we will find out. Either we know them already, or we can find out more. The other thing that we do, and this is, I think, of interest to Pakistani companies, is we do bring trade delegations. We bring delegations of Pakistani businesses to the United States for certain trade shows. So we actually have a roster of about 20, a little bit more, U.S. trade shows that we bring international buyers to. We call it our International Buyer Program. And we select every year about a dozen of these in a number of different sectors, the priority sectors that I already mentioned. And so we actually bring Pakistani business executives who are interested in finding American technologies and finding out more about American companies.
American partners as well?
American partners insofar as we're always trying to help an American company.
So create that collaboration.
Find a partner in this market so that they can help sell their technologies into this market. But we do bring Pakistani business leaders to trade shows in the U.S. So those are all some of the tools that we
And those
utilize.
trade shows are held in all these major cities, and it's a great opportunity for the Pakistani businessmen who are part of this delegation to learn more.
Absolutely, Christian. And for example, next week we are leading a delegation to a trade show called Natural Products Expo. So at Natural Products Expo, there are an awful lot of exhibitors, organic products, whether it's cosmetics or food or other areas, dietary supplements, these types of things, obviously increasingly popular around the world, and we're leading a delegation there. But that's on one end. Last year, actually, we led delegations to a number of energy related trade shows, including, for example, Power Gen. So that's a power generation trade show that took place in Las Vegas in December, and we led a delegation there. Solar Power International is another one, and there are a number of other trade shows, and we just select the best ones that we think will make the most sense for the Pakistanis, and we lead as many as we can.
And is the leader of the delegation the person who leads? Someone from your team ends up going with the businessman?
Exactly right. So we typically have one of our U.S. commercial service staffers accompany delegations to these trade shows. We can't go to every trade show that is part of the U.S. Department of Commerce International Buyer Program roster because, as I mentioned, there are about 20 or a little bit more sometimes year by year. But we tend to lead 6, 8, somewhere in that range every year, and we do indeed have one of our U.S. commercial service staffers be the delegation lead.
That's good to know. Steve, what from your perspective, what are some reforms that you would like to see the Pakistani authorities make in support of more investment and interest from firms in the United States?
Well, as I mentioned, a lot of the issues that American companies have are issues that other companies from other countries and indeed Pakistani companies have as well. So, a system that is as transparent as possible with respect to regulations, with respect to taxes. There are a lot of American companies that have invested here for a long time. And some of the largest companies that employ thousands of Pakistanis and also are big contributors to the exchequer are feeling that reducing the tax burden for them will allow them to free up and grow a little bit more, and so that's certainly one of the issues. And just having sort of a level playing field and consistent regulations. I think for the most part, American companies that operate here and indeed that operate around the world are looking for consistency, consistent regulations, a level playing field so that they can take advantage of the opportunities that are here.
Which leads me to my next question. How frequently do you interact with the host government to address these concerns?
We do, on a regular basis. Of course, every sector is different, and every company, sometimes specific companies have specific issues, and when appropriate, when we can, we will raise issues on behalf of a specific company with the government. But more likely than not, there are sector-based concerns, or indeed concerns that affect a group of companies. I am very actively on board with the American Business Council, the ABC of Pakistan, which has done a terrific job representing the interests of American companies here, and we work very closely with the American Business Council to work with the government, again, either at the federal level or at the provincial level, to address some of these issues that companies have.
I see.
But I'll point out, though, I mean, in the main, I think U.S. companies, again, those, from what I have seen, they remain interested in Pakistan and remain committed to Pakistan, those who that have been here for a long time. Again, in the main. And so the opportunities are here, and they're good opportunities. And I think they're just looking to try and be able to convince headquarters to invest even more if they could.
I see. That's good to know. Also, I mean, which leads me to my other question. What are the best strategies for U.S. firms? If you can share some strategies to enter Pakistan, apart from, of course, using your wonderful service as a resource.
Using the U.S. commercial service as a conduit is always a good first step. And I would say, engaging with a local partner. I mean, that's really important because, and that's what we do, of course, making those introductions. Finding a local partner, one that you can work with very closely, one whose insights you trust and can appreciate. I mean, that is very, very key to managing, I think, all of these issues that companies have.
And that goes back to what you said, understanding the cultural norms,
Absolutely.
the political, economic situation.
Absolutely.
So they can advise you on
That's absolutely right. And so, as the U.S. Commercial Service, we do what we can up front and along the way to help provide those insights. But ultimately, our recommendation for most companies, if they do find a market and they do want to be active here, is to find a local partner so that there is an actual physical presence.
Absolutely.
Ultimately. Because when you're interested in pursuing a market, there's no substitute for having a face and having a presence and having someone be on the ground.
So the key is also do your homework.
Absolutely, do your homework,
research.
Do your research, and get to know the market. Again, there are lots of challenges, but lots of opportunities too.
Which leads me to my final question. We're running out of time. Can you share some? You've shared with us a number of highlights, but anything that stands out from until recently, adding to that, do you have any insights or any other thoughts for our viewers?
Well, again, I am very, very proud that basically the numbers speak for themselves, right? So we're trading more with each other than we ever have before. U.S. exports are at an all-time high, and I'm very proud to see that. Proud to be able to help some of those American companies that have made the determination that this is a good market for them. And I think really a combination of all of the tools that I just described, whether it is leading delegations of Pakistani business leaders to U.S. trade shows, or working with individual American companies to help them find partners in this market, sort of collectively, those are the highlights that I would like to mention.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Steve. It has truly been a pleasure speaking with you and listening to the remarkable job that the U.S. Commercial Service has been doing to promote and bolster trade, business, and commerce between this beautiful country, Pakistan, and the United States. Thank you again for your role also in strengthening the business and commerce ties between the two countries. We wish you all the best for all your future projects, and we hope that you will come back to our studio again and we can interview you again and get all your wise insights about the commercial service.
It would be my pleasure. Thanks very much for having me on.
And again, thanks to all our viewers for joining us for this chat. Have a good day, shukriya, or Allah Hafiz.